Hello world, it's Dave again, and I got another book review here for you, and this time it's Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is amazing. Just an amazing book. And I wanted to do a little preamble on the author, of course, because he's such a fascinating person in himself. I believe he wrote Dracula 1897, that's when it was published. But he's a really interesting character, Bram Stoker, that is, because he seemed to excel at everything. You know, a lot of people, myself included, I seem to fit into a particular niche where I'm good, I'm better or worse, and I have strengths and I have weaknesses, where it really seems like if you look at least his academic career when he was involved with school, they just excelled at everything. So I can toss out a few examples just to highlight this. So Trinity College in Dublin, he's Irish. He was named the university athlete. He graduated with an honors in mathematics, and so you got somebody who is simultaneously this incredible athlete and who is incredibly good at mathematics. And he also was the head of the Historical Society, so he studied a whole bunch of history, so he's got that background. And then he was also the he was also the president of the University Philosophical Society. And so I just think it's incredible when somebody has, I guess you call this kind of person like a Renaissance man, because he does absolutely everything and is really, really impressive in that way. And this is at least the book that I read, it was just given a little blurb about him. He considered himself kind of a humanist and really just believed in, humankind coming together and uniting in common efforts in educating ourselves, and that we were best, like I agree with, I say, when we're a student, a mentor, when we're a student or a teacher. And he thought that those were like the strongest roles that we ever had, and that you should always be progressing through and be at some state or be in both at the same time. And he wrote a couple books, but of course, now moving on to the book itself, best known, easily the best that he's known for, is Dracula. And it's kind of crazy because in his case as well, I believe this is the first novel that he published and was his most popular. So you never know when you go to write what it is that you're going to write, which will be remembered in the test of time, whether it's your 20th book or your first book. In his case, it was his first, and it's been, many years that it has been remained as popular as it has. And you've got the modern, or I guess stating myself, but I love the Bram Stoker's Dracula adaptation for the movie. And I was kind of foolish when I first watched that movie. I thought Bram Stoker was the director of that movie, and I didn't even know it was based on a book. I was like, oh, this is just a great story about Dracula. I had no idea that it was actually based on a book. But then my buddy was like, no, this is actually a book you should read. And I was like, oh, okay. So I read the book, and let's get into it. So why did I enjoy it? What are its strengths? What's interesting? What surprised me about it? Probably first and foremost, for somebody who enjoyed the movie so much, I was surprised at where the weight fell within the characters, because when you watch the movie, it definitely focuses around the suitors for Mina. I think it's Mina. It's like, maybe it's not Mina. There's like Mina and the two girls who are friends. They're suitors for one of them. And then, I can't believe I'm forgetting the names. Anyways, it's irrelevant. The suitors for whoever the girl is in the book, who's kind of up for marriage. And in the movie, it kind of focuses on them. And one of the secondary characters, I guess you might say, although it's done very, very well in the movie, is Anthony Hopkins playing Van Helsing. Whereas when you read the book, naturally you get a lot more character development, but you get a huge amount of character development from Van Helsing, which you do not have so much in the movie. It's more evenly weighed between all these different suitors and Van Helsing. And what the book kind of turns into is Van Helsing versus Dracula lineup, where Dracula is absolutely brilliant, but as is Van Helsing. And that's really cool because they definitely interwove a much more of a love story focus in the movie, whereas this seemed to be just like a rivalry between these two characters. and it's really, really fascinating. Like I say, naturally you get more character development out of Dracula as well, whereas in the movie you do, played very, very well by Gary Oldman, but infinitely more in the book, no surprise, and he's just a little more badass in the book, I would say, because that element of the love story has been removed in the book. It's just a competitive thing going on between these two major characters. And that was great. I really enjoyed it because Van Helsing is just such an incredibly well-written character. And I have to admit, somewhat beyond myself, I'm not surprised, because when you read about Van Helsing, and I've kind of given you a bit of the background of the mind who's embodying or writing about Van Helsing, is this truly multifaceted, brilliant man, which is Bram Stoker. And I feel like it was almost like if Bram Stoker could embody himself into a heroic character, it would be Van Helsing, going up against Dracula. And he almost was Van Helsing, because Van Helsing is good at everything. He's a strong man. He's an intelligent man. He's got compassion. He's a compassionate person. And he's just, I would say, almost more than Dracula, Van Helsing is the focus of the story. And I was surprised by that. I didn't expect it. And it was really, really good for that reason. Second to this as well is you've got the way that the story is written, of course, which is, at one point, Bram Stoker used to write for a newspaper, and so he's really good at these episodic, almost as though he's writing an article for a newspaper way of writing, and that's the way that the book is constructed, is through all these letters and correspondence back and forth between the characters, which adds a degree of realism to it, because it kind of has that newspaper or diary feel to it, and he's good at that because he did it professionally beforehand in a non-fiction way, and then brought it to the book. It's really, really good. Something else that I really, really enjoyed, and I would say is a focus that surprised me as well, was the quality of characters of the suitors in the book. And it was really interesting to me. You might say that they're idealized in that they all want the hand of... I'm going to look this up very quickly. I don't think it's Mina, because it's... Mina is the girl who gets bitten, but Mina has the... Where is it? Lucy. That's what it is. It's Lucy and Mina. And so, yeah, you have all these characters who are vying for the heart of Lucy, and she eventually picks the really, really wealthy, can't remember if he's a duke or something like that. But then you've got this other guy who's kind of a cowboy. You got this other guy who's a medical practitioner. He works in the insane asylum or whatever. And I really liked how there was one point in the book where it discusses the rejection that each of these guys experiences, except for the one who's accepted by Lucy, I believe. And their response to it was really, really fascinating. It was almost like, it was definitely something you would aspire to, where these guys just took it on the chin and they took it like real men. And I thought, well, this is a fantastic example. If you could only read this before you were rejected in your life, you'd be probably much better at taking rejection with these guys kind of as an example to you, because they all remained friends. They didn't take it personally. They still cared for the person who had rejected them, and she tried to do so in a very polite way. And I really, really like that. One other aspect of the book that I should say varies from the movie and was really, really cool is, in the movie, he's kind of been... No, that's not a word. He's been made an icon which represents kind of stupidity and like extremes of emotional behavior, and that's Renfield. And Renfield in the movie is this guy who initially went to see Dracula, to organize Dracula's purchase of some land and property within England, and then he kind of becomes a slave, a ghoul of Dracula. And in the movies, it's always... or some of the more comical representations, he's way over the top. In the Bram Stoker's one, he's just a bit of a lunatic. Whereas in the book, he is far more an independent thinking guy, and the book kind of casts him in the light of a bit of a hero if you're paying attention to the way in which he's written into it. And so I really enjoyed that variation as well, just to really turn on the head my expectations of that character and all the other pop culture that I've seen it. So you have the interpersonal relationships are really, really good between all the characters, and like I say, something that you might aspire to the hero of the book, in no question of it, is is Van Helsing. It was amazing to see the character development of him. And then, of course, you're going to enjoy so much more the fact that you get into the nitty-gritty, way more details to do with Dracula himself. So it was a wonderful book. You know, there's the plot is greater, more complex than the movie and everything like that. And now I can really feel, when I read through the book, I thought, you know, this is written by a brilliant man. I wonder, you know, what is his background? And then when I looked it up, it confirmed that without a doubt. This is a brilliant man. Bram Stoker was a really, really interesting guy. And it just shows you, if you write good stuff, it will always stand the test of time, that being written back in 1897. But you could read it today and just think, my God, what a brilliant, relevant, interesting author. So really, really good. So if you enjoyed the review, that's about the end of it. I don't want to drone on. This doesn't need to be 20 minutes. Please do like, subscribe, share. I'm going to be doing reviews all the time. The next review I'm coming up on, it's incredibly nerdy to say, but I'm really excited to review this book because it's so different, the next one. It's called The Hydrogen Sonata, and I've just got, I think, some very interesting things to say on it as I compare it to the other books I've been reading recently and stuff like that. So that's coming up soon. So yeah, thanks for dropping by. Like, subscribe, share, and then, like I like to say, until we meet again next time, world, thanks for tripping with Dave. Ciao for now. Peace.